Recording in progress. They don't even announce it anymore. This is so funny to me. They didn't like me making fun of them, but we still gonna do it. Hey y'all, hey, what's good? It's your girl Nadi, aka Queen Goddess Hope. I am on half par energy today. Sitting outside in the sun for the last 2 weeks has taken a toll on my body. These downloads are ultra sensitive to those who are equipped with decoding the downloads. Sitting outside in the sun every single day does affect you. It strengthens your mind, it strengthens your spiritual gifts, and it allows you to obtain downloads from your ancestors that you didn't even know that you needed. There's a guy here who's always like trying to debunk my stuff, which is fine because that's comes along with the territory, but he's so immersed in his school of thought that he's not open to other schools of thought. And on this journey called life, one thing that I believe all people have in common is prayer. When I stopped going to church back in 2016-ish, I think, 2015, something like that. Um, the one thing that I recognized was that I wasn't angry at God. I just didn't understand where my life was supposed to go without church. So I just completely cut off prayer altogether. And I had always prayed since I was a kid. And because you usually start prayer out with God's name, I recognized that God never revealed himself to me for me to call it a specific name. And that is where this whole thing changed. And I started journaling as a form of prayer because I didn't know what to call God. And recognizing that we all say we're gods and goddesses, and that may be true, but I don't believe that all people act accordingly, right? And they're saying it's blasphemous to call yourself a god when there are people who, in songs, in fact, that even talk about how we're made in God's image, which is me and you. So everyone is not going to rise up to the occasion or be equipped with the tools and the bandwidth to dissect what's truly being said in the Bible. Some people take it literal. Some people know that there are many parables and stories and similarities between the New Testament and the Old Testament. We know that there are many tribes that have left behind information, and just because they may not have deeply melanated skin doesn't mean that I cannot absorb that information and use it to my advantage. And this is where Black people are often left behind, because if it doesn't come in the pigment that they wish, then it can't be word. And I've spent a great portion of my career surrounded by nations from all over the world, starting out as a Jehovah's Witness, segueing into sales, having to put my color behind me to make sales. And while awakening to pure consciousness, recognizing that there are different types of people, and I could still meet a racist Black person. You know, I know white people that are way cooler than many Black people. Like, I'd rather kick it with them than to kick it with y'all fucking weirdos. Because my problem is that some people are just so stuck in low vibrational energy that they won't even allow themselves to progress because of that. And I cannot be around people like that, especially if I know my calling is bigger. I understand that people may not know or identify what their true purpose is just yet, because I didn't find out what was mine, you know, all of a sudden. I had to genuinely do work for that to be revealed to me. You cannot figure out what your root cause is or why you've teleported back to Earth if you haven't done the work to push past the lessons. You know, my first book was called The Past is in the Past, so let it pass. And oftentimes when I started living in the past, I had to remember that I'm present in the current living, thriving future. And depending on where you are, depending on where you live, the type of money you've made, the type of neighborhood you decided to dwell in long term. Depending on all of those things, your reality when you step out of your front door may be different. You know, growing up in the projects, stepping out of your front door means that you're in an apartment building, so you're still technically safe. But as soon as you hit that stairwell, that elevator, anything can happen. Anything can happen. Okay. I lived on the eighth floor in one and the fifth and third floor in another project. And anything can happen if you decided to take the stairway. Nine times out of 10, our parents was like, stairway, you avoid at all costs. And because I was afraid of elevators, now I'm walking through the fucking stairway. Like if I'm not with my parents, I'm going through the stairway. And um you know, then you get out of that front door. You didn't even get out the fucking lobby. Then in the lobby, you probably got like 100 niggas just all waiting for that next sale or just chiefing, listening to music, shooting movies, because anything can happen in a hood. Like collectively, so many different things happening, shooting dice, like it's literally a war zone. And then you step out of the projects and then you step out of the building. Shout out to West Brighton and New Brighton, though. What up? And, you know, you have to put on that armor, that true God-like armor. And if you are not familiar with prayer, if you don't know how to pray for protection, if you don't know what forces to call in to protect you, you're not going to be protected. You're you're probably going to drop to your knees and start praying to God, and you probably aren't even a believer at some point. You just know innately that if you're in danger, you're going to call on something to protect you. And a lot of people instinctively do that. I instinctively did that. You know, my prayer life is great. I still read up my Bible and I'm heavy into the occult. Like I love learning about alternative viewpoints of light. I studied religion in high school and college. You know, college, I took every class they have for religion, every class they have for music, and I've taken accounting classes, psychology classes. I've took classes that I felt were going to benefit me down the road long term. And when you're 18 and 19 years old, sitting in a college class at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning, learning about the world's religions, and actually recognizing that a lot of these things are the same, you know, and recognizing that the one thing that people have in common is prayer. I don't have time to argue with people about things. You know, the fact is, how does prayer look to you? What do you consider an answered prayer? Are you praying for things? Are you manifesting things? You know, I could sit out in the sun and just sit there idle and just absorb in those DNA downloads. And maybe I may be on a phone call, you know, an appointment or a meeting. And other times I may just be sitting there, you know, with myself and appreciating the messages that are coming through. That is still a form of prayer. Me envisioning myself in a new environment is a form of manifestation. And I'm doing it outside in nature. Pause button. I love decaf coffee. Like, I usually drink coffee around my cycle. And because I cannot handle caffeine at all, I do decaf. And it's like the best thing since sliced bread. So please hold. I've been drinking hot beverages through a straw forever, which is so funny to me. But People don't realize that marriages are deemed a little bit more sacred when they happen outside. These relationships are deemed a little bit more of a soul tie or more organic when you can invite the elements into your marriage. When you are under Earth's natural state and you're exchanging vows, those relationships have a different type of blessing on them. This is not only a covenant between husband, wife, now source God energy, it is also a covenant with the universe. And when you're in a church or in a building or da 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 da, not saying that those relationships lack any of those things, it's just not an authentic, natural blessing. Yeah, y'all not gonna like that one. When people start coming around chosen people, that's a wind with dust, ilk, cover the coffee. When people start getting blessed around you because you are chosen, just say I'm next. Congratulate them and say I'm next. Because my good energy gets people job promotions, gets them houses that they want, cars, all material things that they want, they get that shit around me. And I could be just chilling, doing yoga in a hot sun, getting that energy from my community around me, and they have no idea why. They did not put in any of the work to receive those blessings. But because one sacrificial lamb decided to put forth those blessings on their behalf, they're now blessed. Y'all like my shirt? This was my first shirt for Free as Fuck University. I want y'all to see it. 400 years of slavery behind us. Now it's our time to get shit cracking. Y'all see that Free as Fuck on the side? This is my baby. I'll never get rid of any prototypes that we've ever created. These are my babes. But just know, because you're putting in that work for your family, when you start seeing their blessings pop off, yours are next. And for me, when I'm in the midst of a goal, I don't give a fuck what my circumstances look like. I really don't. And sure, people may not understand why I do what I do, but they don't even recognize that the blessings that they received are because of me. And it's not to say that they didn't work for them, but my energy is an immediate light switch for people. I come around, boom, energy. You and I, we got energy. That shit is real. And you have to take all of that stuff into account because when you remove your energy, all of the energy that they felt before you got there, if they didn't elevate their mind or elevate their surroundings or just elevate in any capacity to maintain those blessings, they're going to think that you did something to manipulate the blessings. They don't even know where the blessings came from in the first place. They just feel like you did something because you removed your energy. No, that's on you. But then I started remembering like the only way that God can bless me is if I imagine these things to be true. Like my dream car is 2010, from 2010. And then I just recently found a 2015 version that I actually like really liked. So I'm like, oh shit, do I like the 2015 version instead? It's five more $1,000, but I might like that version instead. So now I got to go on a whole new manhunt trying to decide if that's a version that I want to add onto my vision board. You know, you have to envision the materialism that you want. And who gives a F about how people felt like you did it or who you conjured, or if you sat out in the sun for 15 hours to get it, if you fasted for the day, whatever it is that you did to receive those blessings, that is between you and the Most High, nobody else. That's it. So continue to manifest the things that you want for your life. Seriously, manifest. If it is a career or something that you're trying to do, put that on a vision board. If it's simple as skydive Dubai, I put Dubai on my vision board like 2016 or something like that. And then somehow I ended up there for work. I didn't skydive there like I wanted to, but it's okay. I went to the physical place, right? It may not have been, and I didn't do all of the things that I personally wanted to do, but that's fine. I still manifested that, you know. You have to think about all of these things. These are real life situations. Manifesting is very real. I've manifested my whole life just by having vision boards. And a lot of people may not believe it. A lot of people may feel that it's demonic because fucking everything is demonic all of a sudden, But if you're not putting your goals into action, if you don't even write down your goals in action, how can anybody ever believe that you stuck to the plan or that you've been attempting to put these things into action for so many years? You know, you have to stick to the plan. One thing I wanted to say about purpose, if you're not operating in your purpose and you know what your purpose is, you better believe God is going to take that away from you and hand it to somebody else who's manifesting these types of gifts. I know that I have speaker's voice only because people have been asking me to do voiceovers and speeches and things like that for decades. And because I've never had the tools on how to get there or the plugs to say, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do, or the resources to train me properly to get there, I never did it. Some guy wanted me to pay him $3,500 to teach me how to public speak, and I just started paying attention to his pages and how he uh was marketing his business and how many times he did a speech. And I don't even know where he is present day. Haven't seen him, don't know. So, I could have got scammed. And then I remembered years ago, I had paid for somebody's speaking course, and I think I paid like $30 for it. Went back into my handy dandy email. Boom, there it is. I still didn't complete it. Sometimes I just buy things to support my friends. And that's 9 times out of 10 what it'd be. You know what I mean? And um they got a Black Friday sale and I'm just gonna buy it just to show love, supporting to small businesses. But I had to realize that I had to want to be a speaker. I had to realize that I also had to have a message. I had to realize that if this is truly what I'm supposed to do in my purpose, sometimes just press and record is all that I can do. And I could just pray that, I'm gifted with the words as they come. A lot of times people want you to have structure, have this, have that. And I'm like, I'm so intuitive. How can I have structure with intuition? Sometimes the words that I'm saying may not resonate for everybody, and that's perfectly okay. But it usually is like a 1 or 2 liner that's going to bless you. And you have to be prepared for that. I often speed up messages on YouTube to make them be a little bit more faster so that I can just, get in as many details as possible. If I see a 50-minute video on YouTube, I'm probably going to listen to all 50 minutes on 1.75. Everybody isn't a fast talker. Some people speak slow. Like I think I speak slow sometimes. And then sometimes I feel like speeding up if I know I'm passionate about something. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's not going to come out as effective. But guess what? It's still going to come out. So don't sleep on your purpose, because you sleeping on your purpose could forfeit the savings of lives. How many lives can you save with your purpose? Are you chasing money and materialism? God knows that you have to have money to thrive in this earth. God knows that this country is in the United States is changing so much, and they're putting so many rules and laws and things into place that could affect the bottom half of their society, which is like 60% of people. And now they're trying to implement a living wage of $75,000. They're going to pay people $75,000 a month to stay home, live in public housing, live on food stamps, live. Thankfully, I have been blessed to have the career that I have had and have made $75,000 for at least the last 10 years. You know, now you have to see what people with $75,000 will do. Because if you've always been making $45,000, $55,000 your whole life, and then all of a sudden you'll get $75,000, what lifestyle are you going to live? Are you going to take an extra vacation a year? Are you going to buy that filet mignon for the whole family? I don't give a fuck what y'all say. That first dinner though, off that big bag, we wildin'. You gotta appreciate your blessings and celebrate them, but you also have to be smart with the bag, right? If I know that I'm about to add $30,000 extra, $10,000 extra on $15,000 extra if you're at the 60, mark, will that be eaten up in taxes? Will it actually be tax free? How much of that will I be able to save? If people are praying for $300 extra per month, right? Give or take. If I'm praying for $300 extra a month, and they give me five, what are you going to do with that extra $200? Do you think you're going to save it? Are you going to invest it? Or are you going to fuck it off? If you were blessed with $20,000 extra per month, what are you going to do? Would you save it or would you fuck it off? Or if they gave you a stipend every month, let's do the quick math. Tracking device. Let's do the quick math. $75,000. Let's just divide it by 26 since that's the average paycheck that most people get, right? That's 2,884 and 62 cents. So $2,884.62. Half y'all rent is $2,500. So that leaves you with $384, right? So let's do plus 2,884.65. So that's about $5,000 a month. Let's just make sure. 57.69. Yeah, let's give or take. Let's call it 6,000 a month. Nope, because that's only 72. 6,500 times 12, 78,000. So we're almost there. 6,300 times 12. Boom. 6,300 is the number because it gives you 75,600. Let's do that. You get $6,500 a month. Let's take, they say you're supposed to do 25% for rent or mortgage. So that's 1625. We all know that you barely getting it at 1625, right? Oh, it's so sad. So you got $4,800 left. People have $1,000 car notes and insurances. People have multiple cars in their homes. So you could be easily left with them extra $200-$300. Like, some people ain't gonna think that's worth anything once all of their expenses. All they're going to say is, damn, now I can finally pay all my bills. Nobody is gonna think about this as a level up. Nobody is going to invest that money unless if their expenses are extremely low. And that is where I come in. I have been investing since 2018, and I wouldn't say that it would be consistent. It's just that I knew about the knowledge and I started doing it on my own, trying to figure out how can I make my money grow. And with each phase that I've been investing, this is going to be my third phase. I feel like I've put enough hours into it. I understand it. I could read charts. I could understand what's happening. I know how to trade Forex. I want to get into futures. So I had been on a couple of conference calls with the Einstein of Wall Street, Peter Tushman, and, really trying to understand how am I on a conference call with him and Tim Cook? When did I get here? And then I'm asking questions, and they're like, Queen, this is the answer. And I'm like, that's also very weird, you know? But at the same time, you have to be willing to be a student sometimes, to go back to my original point. If they give you $30,000 more per year, $25,000 more per year, what are you going to do with that money? And they know that there's going to be a great portion of people, probably that 60%, that's going to take that $30,000 and fuck it off. All they're going to do is say, hey, my bills are finally paid. I could probably go out to eat and feed my family or do one extra vacation a month, and they're completely satisfied, because some people just don't need more. And then there's a portion of the people who were take that extra money, invest it, or start a business, create some type of hustle that's going to allow them to get out of that $75,000 money draw. You have to understand, as a currency flips, new rules and laws have to be made. This is 100-year, 1,000-year sometimes, right? Thought, process, plan that has been curated. Let's just go with the centennial. This is 100 years of secret society knowledge, right? That is about to control a world, because the currency is going to flip. So when the currency flips and they know that the US dollar is not processing or helping the people, they're struggling more than they're functioning. They're working more than they're resting. They're paying bills more than thriving. They realize that the ceiling is about to crack. The glass ceiling has reached its capacity. The weight is about to crumble. Remember, RIP to everybody who transitioned, you know, dancing, having a great time in DR when it collapsed. This is the same type of energy that is happening right now. We are all standing on top of the roof of where America is trying to save itself, but the weight is so heavy because it comes with the debt. Have y'all ever went on to the debt website? It's actually very scary. National debt calculator. I remember discovering this in high school, and I almost lost my shit. And even back then, I was like appalled. So think about national debt clock is called. When you click on it, it looks like this. It looks maddening. US national debt, 36 trillion, 886 billion, 851 million, 300, 500,000. It's moving, literally, like actually moving. You see that? Wild, bro. They got a Doge clock that got billions in debt. Debt per citizen, 107,721. Debt per taxpayer, $333,050. This is just so fucking heartbreaking. Like, revenue per citizen, $15,047. I just can't. I could be on that fucking website for hours. Don't want to go there. Fact is, people are going to feel all they have is relief. I can pay my bills now. That is all that they're worried about. Today, I had asked people to describe adulting in 3 words, and 95% of those messages and comments were negative. Every single last one of them. And when you look at things like that, I see two things. Conscious level, people who don't believe in a higher power or are really at the end and feel like their back is completely against the wall and this is it. They are ready to die. People don't want to live in this type of life anymore. And the question is how long are you going to be able to withstand that? And this is why higher consciousness is the only way. People have no idea how I'm doing half the shit that I'm doing. I don't even know how I'm doing half the shit that I'm doing. But I know that my manifestation game is A1. I know that everything I say I'm going to do, I am going to do it. I know that if I've been praying for a certain lifestyle or just a certain way to bless others, because that's all I do, I can't keep everything to myself. I have to bless people. But when you're walking on that motion and notion that you are awaiting your blessings, your blessings are right here. They not around the corner, they right here. I could touch it, I could feel it, I could smell it. It's just a matter of, hello, you answering the call for the blessings. That just reminded me of Tiptoes. He's like, now they calling about that shit. Hello? Oh man. I had he had a whole bunch of girls, basically, long story short, and he found this one amazing goddess, whoop whoop, and he was like, the girls was calling like, yo, I heard you was messing with. Hold on. You calling my phone? Oh no, you gotta go. Like you can't even respect your place. You gotta go. He was like, I had some chicks trying to sink the ship, so I had to throw them off. Now they calling about that shit. Hello? I feel like I have to play that for y'all. I'm kind of ratchet. Cocaine at tiptoes, rather like the whip stove. It's Quavo.
Yeah, most. He'd like to bust that ass on her tippy toes.
All right, let me see. I can't play the whole song because you know how the laws be. Hello?
Now they calling about that shit. Had to throw some bitches off because they trying to sink the ship. Hit it soft and that pussy got that grip. She said I spin it in the strip club. Why can't I spin it here?
I don't make the lyrics, I just know the song. Anyways, the commotion and noise level I hear is obscene, but I'm gonna go. I hope y'all got the memo. Peace.